Welcome back to Old Men New Money. I'm Douglas Borthwick, and today we're talking about the future of marketing. Community marketing officers. Not chief marketing officers, community marketing officers. There's a critical difference. Traditional marketing is something you do to customers. Community marketing is something customer owners do with you and for you. When your customers are also your investors, they're not passive recipients of your marketing messages. They're active participants in your growth. They're financially motivated to help you succeed. They become your marketing force. But here's the thing. You can't just hope this happens organically. You need structure, you need incentive systems, you need to manage it professionally, and you need to do it without running into compliance problems. And that's what we're covering today. Here's your 30-second version. Community marketing officers are customer investors who actively promote the business because their equity value depends on its success. Effective CMO programs provide clear incentive structures, recognition systems, and compliance frameworks that channel authentic advocacy while avoiding securities law violations. The result is word-of-mouth marketing that's more effective and less expensive than traditional advertising, driven by people with financial stakes in outcomes. Let me start with why this works. Traditional marketing faces a fundamental credibility problem. Everyone knows advertisers are trying to sell you something. We're all skeptical. But when your friend recommends a business they own equity in, that's different. Yes, they have financial motivation, but that actually makes their recommendation more credible, not less. They've put their money where their mouth is. They're not just saying it's good. They've invested in it. Behavioral economics research shows that recommendations from people with skin in the game are more persuasive than recommendations from seemingly disinterested parties. Why? Because we know they've done real due diligence. They've evaluated the business thoroughly enough to invest their own money. According to Nielsen research, 92% of consumers trust recommendations from friends and family above all other forms of advertising. And McKinsey found that word of mouth is the primary factor in 20 to 50% of all purchasing decisions. Customer investors also understand the business differently than regular customers. They've seen the financials, or at least the offering documents. They understand the business model. They know the challenges and opportunities. When they talk about the business, they're informed advocates. And here's the critical difference from traditional customer referrals. Customer investors benefit twice from successful referrals. If someone they refer becomes a customer, that increases revenue, which increases the value of their equity. If someone they refer becomes a customer investor, that adds capital and another community member, which strengthens the business and increases their equity value even more. This double benefit creates powerful motivation. In traditional companies, you have chief marketing officers who lead large teams with big budgets. They create campaigns by advertising, manage brand positioning. In insumer companies, you still might have a CMO at the executive level, but you also have community marketing officers. These are customer investors who take active roles in promoting the business. Think of them as volunteer brand ambassadors, but with real stakes in the outcome. They're not paid employees. They don't report to anyone, but they're motivated to help because their equity value depends on business success. The best CMOs emerge naturally from your customer investor base. They're the people who are already enthusiastic advocates. They're already posting on social media. They're already recommending you to friends. The insumer model just makes their motivation explicit and rewards it appropriately. At Blue Mountain Coffee in my books, which again represent real conversations with real business owners, the top customer investors naturally become CMOs. They organized events, they created content, they recruited new customers and investors, not because anyone told them to, because they wanted their investment to succeed. The question every business owner asks is, how do you incentivize community marketing officers without creating securities law problems? And let me break down structures that work and structures that don't. Structure 1, referral rewards and additional equity. When a CMO refers a new customer investor, they receive additional equity. This works because you're selling securities to new investors at defined prices. The CMO is essentially getting a commission or finder's fee in equity form. The challenge: you might need broker-dealer involvement depending on jurisdiction. If CMOs are regularly finding investors and receiving compensation, They might be deemed unregistered broker-dealers. This is a real risk. Work with securities lawyers. Structure 2, tiered ownership benefits. CMOs who hit certain referral milestones get upgraded to higher ownership tiers with better benefits. Bronze becomes silver, silver becomes gold. This works because you're not issuing new securities, you're providing enhanced benefits for existing ownership. This is generally safer from a securities law perspective, but you need to be careful that the benefits don't constitute compensation that triggers broker-dealer registration requirements. Structure: equity appreciation through business growth. This is the simplest and safest. CMOs aren't compensated directly for referrals. Their incentive is that successful referrals increase business value, which increases their equity value. No additional compensation, just natural alignment. This is the cleanest structure legally. The challenge is making the connection explicit enough that CMOs understand how their advocacy translates to equity value. Structure 4, non-securities rewards. CMOs receive recognition, exclusive experiences, or merchandise for successful referrals. These aren't securities, they're just perks. From a securities law perspective, this is the safest, but it might not provide sufficient motivation for sustained effort. My recommendation? Combine structures 3 and 4. Primary motivation is equity appreciation. Secondary motivation is recognition and experiences. This creates strong incentives without securities law complications. Let's talk about what keeps securities lawyers up at night. And if you get this wrong, you could have serious regulatory problems. Here's what you must understand. The broker-dealer problem is the big one. If CMOs are finding investors and receiving commissions or transaction-based compensation, they might be deemed broker-dealers, and operating as an unregistered broker-dealer is a federal crime. The safe harbor is ensuring compensation isn't transaction-based. If CMOs receive benefits based on their overall ownership level and engagement, not per transaction commissions, you're generally okay. If they receive equity for specific successful referrals, you're in dangerous territory. The general solicitation rules matter if you're doing a 506B offering. You can't publicly advertise, and you can't have CMOs broadly soliciting investors. If you're doing a 506C, you can publicly advertise, but only to accredited investors. CMOs need to understand these restrictions. The fraud and misrepresentation rules are always in play. CMOs can't make false statements about the business or the securities. They can't promise returns. They can't make statements that would be material misrepresentations. You need to train them on what they can and cannot say. At INX, when we dealt with this, we provided clear guidelines. CMOs could share their personal experience with the business. They could explain why they invested. They could direct people to our offering documents. But they couldn't make promises about returns. They couldn't misrepresent risks. They couldn't pressure people to invest. Here's how you actually implement this in practice. Start by identifying natural advocates from your customer investor base. Who's already posting about you on social media? Who's already bringing friends to your location? Who's enthusiastic about your business? Reach out personally. Invite them to become official community marketing officers. Explain the role. Explain the benefits. Make it feel special. Provide training. What can they say? What can't they say? What are the securities law restrictions? What resources can they share? This training protects both you and them. Create simple tools. Social media graphics they can share. Email templates for reaching out to friends. Links to your offering documents. Make it easy for them to spread the word professionally. Establish recognition systems. Highlight top CMOs in your newsletter. Feature them on your social media. Create exclusive events where CMOs meet management. Public recognition motivates people. Track performance. How many referrals per CMO? What's the conversion rate? Which CMOs are most effective? And use data to optimize your program. At successful insumer companies, the CMO program is formalized but not rigid. There are clear guidelines and support systems. But CMOs have freedom to advocate in their own authentic voices. The best advocacy is genuine enthusiasm, not scripted marketing speak. Let me give you examples from Web3 projects because they pioneered community-driven marketing. And these lessons apply directly to insumer companies. Friends with Benefits, a social DAO, grew through token holder advocacy. Members owned FWB tokens that governed the community. Their membership value increased as the community grew. Every member was incentivized to recruit high-quality new members. They didn't have a marketing budget. They had a community of owners who advocated because their token value depended on community quality and size. The result? They built one of the most influential crypto communities with minimal marketing spend. Member referrals are more effective than any advertising could have been. Yuga Labs, creators of Bored Ape Yacht Club, turned NFT holders into brand ambassadors. Holding a Bored Ape NFT granted commercial rights. Owners created merchandise, opened restaurants, and started brands featuring their apes. Every time an owner promoted their ape-branded venture, they promoted Bored Ape Yacht Club. Collective advocacy created brand value and exceeded any traditional marketing budget. The floor price of Bored Apes reached hundreds of thousands of dollars. This value was created through community advocacy, not advertising. These Web3 examples prove that community-driven marketing can outperform traditional marketing dramatically. The key is aligning ownership with advocacy incentives. How do you know if your community marketing officer program is working? You need specific metrics. Number of active CMOs. What percentage of customer investors are actively advocating? Industry benchmarks suggest 10 to 30% of loyalty program members become active advocates. Referrals per CMO. How many people does each CMO refer annually? Research shows successful referral programs can generate 3 to 10 referrals per active advocate per year. Referral conversion rate. What percentage of CMO referrals become customers? What percentage become customer investors? Research shows referrals convert at 3 to 5 times higher than traditional leads, with 50+% conversion to customers being achievable. Customer acquisition cost comparison. What's the effective cost per customer acquired through CMO referral versus traditional marketing? Research shows referral marketing can reduce customer acquisition costs by at least $24 per customer compared to traditional methods. Lifetime value of CMO referred customers. Do CMO referrals have higher lifetime value than other customers? Research consistently shows that they do. Harvard Business Review found 16% higher lifetime value, while McKinsey research showed referred customers can have twice the lifetime value. CMO retention and satisfaction. Are your CMOs staying engaged? Are they satisfied with their experience? High CMO retention indicates a healthy program. Attribution tracking. Can you identify which CMO generated each referral? This is critical for recognition and optimization. Use referral codes or links. At Blue Mountain Coffee, in my example, they tracked everything through a simple app. CMOs had unique referral codes. When someone mentioned the code at purchase or investment, the CMO got credit. Simple, but effective. Now, let me talk about mistakes and risks because I want you to avoid them. The biggest risk is securities law violations. CMOs acting as unregistered broker-dealers. This happens when incentives are too direct. Bring me 10 investors and get $10,000 in equity. That's transaction-based compensation. That's broker-dealer activity. Don't do it. The solution is making advocacy about community building and business success, not transaction commissions. The benefit is equity appreciation for everyone, not per transaction payments for individuals. Misrepresentation by CMOs might make false claims or promises. This exposes you to fraud liability. The solution is training and monitoring. Make clear what's acceptable. Provide approved language. Monitor social media and communications. Act quickly if problems emerge. CMO burnout happens when you ask too much. Remember, these are volunteers motivated by ownership, not employees. Don't treat them like unpaid staff. Respect their time and autonomy. The solution is keeping asks reasonable. Provide tools that make advocacy easy. Don't demand constant activity. Favoritism and conflicts can emerge if some CMOs get special treatment. The solution is transparent criteria for recognition and benefits, clear tiers, objective metrics, public acknowledgement of top performers. Free riding, where some owners benefit from CMO efforts without contributing themselves, this is actually fine. Not everyone needs to be a CMO. Having some active advocates who benefit everyone is the whole point. Don't try to force everyone into a CMO role. Now, let me give you some numbers on what a CMO program can return based on industry research. Investment in CMO program training materials, $3,000 to $5,000. Recognition events and experiences, $5,000 to $10,000 annually. Tools and resources, website portal, referral tracking, $2,000 to $5,000. Staff time for program management, 10 to 20 hours per month. Total cost, $15,000 to $30,000 for a program supporting 50 to 100 CMOs. Returns from a CMO program? Based on research showing referral marketing reduces customer acquisition costs significantly, programs can see 25 to 50% reduction in advertising spend. Customer acquisition through referrals can generate substantial new business. If 50 active CMOs each refer 3 to 5 customers annually, that's 150 to 250 new customers. Research shows 5 to 10% of referred customers become investors, potentially generating $50,000 to $200,000 in new capital annually, depending on business size and investment amounts. ROI calculation is compelling. If you spend $25,000 on your CMO program and it generates $75,000 in reduced marketing costs and increased sales, that's 3-to-1 return. If it also generates $100,000 in new investment, that's 7-to-1 overall return. These projections are based on actual industry research and represent conservative estimates from successful referral programs. Here's what I think happens as the insumer model spreads. Community marketing officers become the standard in consumer businesses. Traditional advertising declines. Organic advocacy driven by ownership incentives becomes primary. Marketing budgets shift from ads to community development. The best community marketing officers become professional influencers in their own right. They build personal brands around their advocacy. Some might become paid consultants helping other insumer companies build CMO programs. Universities start teaching community-driven marketing, as distinct from traditional marketing. Business schools recognize that customer-investor dynamics create new models requiring new frameworks. The most valuable brands of the next decade will be community-owned brands with strong CMO cultures. They'll outcompete traditional brands through superior advocacy and lower marketing costs. What should you do right now? If you're launching an insumer program, design your CMO framework from the beginning. Don't try to add it later. Build it into your initial offering structure. Work with securities lawyers specifically on CMO compliance. Make sure your incentive structures don't trigger broker-dealer registration requirements. Get this right legally before you launch. Identify potential CMOs before you even launch. Who are your existing superfans, your most enthusiastic customers? Recruit them as founding customer investors and CMOs. Create simple training materials, one-page guideline on what CMOs can and can't say, templates they can use. Make compliance easy. Build recognition into your culture from day one. Highlight CMO contributions in every communication. Make advocacy high status. If you're a customer investor in an existing insumer company, volunteer to be a CMO. You're already invested. Help your investment succeed by advocating professionally. Track everything. Measure referrals, conversions, costs. Prove the ROI. Use data to optimize. Community marketing officers represent the future of marketing for consumer brands. When your customers are your investors and your investors are your marketers, you've created a self-reinforcing growth loop that traditional businesses can't replicate. The marketing budget becomes a community development budget. The results are better because advocacy from owners is more credible than advertising from corporations. But this only works with proper structure. Clear incentives, compliance frameworks, recognition systems, measurement. You can't just hope it happens organically. You need to design it, build it, and manage it professionally. This has been Module 5 of Old Men, New Money. We've covered the insumer model, hybrid security tokens, brand loyalty meeting shareholder value, and community marketing officers. These 4 episodes provide a comprehensive framework for understanding and implementing customer-investor relationships. This isn't theoretical. This is practical. Companies are doing this now. The technology works, the regulations are evolving, and the results are compelling. The question is whether you'll be among the early adopters who build unassailable competitive advantages, or whether you'll be among the laggards who eventually have to catch up because your competitors have already captured your best customers by making them owners. I'm Douglas Borthwick. I spent 30 years on Wall Street before becoming a blockchain pioneer. I worked on the first SEC-registered security token IPO at INX, raising $85 million. I created the insumer model to solve the fundamental disconnect between customers and investors. This is my life's work. The resources are available. The books, The Insumer Model, and Your Equity in Your Pocket, available on Amazon, provide detailed implementation guides. Our podcast, Old Men, New Money, continues exploring these themes weekly with my co-hosts Phil Larman and Ali Dawoodi. The future I'm describing is already being built. Join us in building it.